Welcome to Giving Tuesday. We're here today to talk about Giving Tuesday in a different way than we have in the past. This has been such a troubling year, as we all well know. And this year, we're really focusing on the power of giving in creative and different ways. So I'm so honored and pleased that some real heroes in our community have joined us today to talk about the different ways that they have given within our community. So Victoria, I'm going to start with you. Victoria has given in a different way. She's a plasma donor. So Victoria, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and why you do it?
Oh, sure. I have been a plasma donor for the last 11 years, pretty regularly, twice a week. I missed a few weeks when there was a problem with I don't know, something, but other than that, I've been pretty regularly. I started doing this a few years back when a friend of mine's granddaughter was born with an illness, and she put out a plea at my school to donate plasma. And so that's how I started this.
And you've donated how many times?
I've donated a little bit over, I think I'm working on 1,200.
Wow.
Towards the number.
Wow.
So my only regret is that I didn't start this sooner in my life. You know, I started, like I said, 11 years ago, and I should have started way sooner.
Well, we're very grateful for those 11 years. As most everybody on this call knows that if there are 5,000 rare diseases out there, only 5% of them have a therapy. And GBS and CIDP, MMN, we're very, very fortunate that we do have a therapy, and one of which is IVIG. So people like Victoria, we wouldn't be here with therapies if it weren't for plasma donors. So Victoria, thank you so much for giving plasma.
That's truly my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah. So Brenda, I'm going to jump to you. Brenda has been a patient support volunteer. She runs a Facebook group. She's a new member of our board of directors. She's participated in some educational videos. So Brenda's really given in so many ways. Brenda, can you tell us a little bit about why you've done that and how it's been meaningful for you?
Sure. So when the first 2 years I was diagnosed with MMN, I felt very lost and alone. I didn't know of any support groups or anything like that. It was actually my neurologist at Johns Hopkins who, in his loving, supportive way, would say, "What have you done for MMN lately?" every time I go in and see him for my checkups. So I'm like, okay. And then he kept saying, "You need to look up the foundation." So I did that. And then I slowly started to get involved and met a lot of great people. I started sharing my story and doing educational videos and things like that just meant a lot to me, because I know how scared I was at the beginning, not having anybody to talk to about all this. So it's always been really important to me to share my story with others and help those just newly diagnosed with MMN to feel, in a safe space and feel hopeful. And then just, being able to share my story, being more involved with the foundation has just given me a new purpose, and it was a direction that I needed. So and being able to go up to DC and on Hill Day has been awesome. It's convenient because I live here in Virginia. But it's been a wonderful, wonderful thing for me emotionally, and just feeling the support and being able to get involved and help others.
Well, thanks so much, Brenda. So just a great example of giving time, giving support, sharing experience. So important to have that kind of patient-to-patient understanding, right? You've walked those shoes and you understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Matea, is joining us. He recently has a huge accomplishment where he participated. He's founded an event in honor of his grandmother, who was a GBS sufferer. So I don't want to say too much more, and I'm going to let him describe it in his own words.
So hi, once again. I don't have such an inspirational story, at least as Victoria and Brenda, but I've been aware of GBS since 2013 when my grandmother got it. She unfortunately passed away in 2016. She kind of fully recovered, but there were some leftovers there, so she unfortunately passed away a couple years later. And then due to pandemics, I've been running over the last 3 years. I work at an investment fund, but I also do marathons. I run marathons. So due to pandemics and there are no official races, I I found this way to return to practice. And I always wanted to go from my home door to her home door in the south, which is approximately 56 miles apart from my current place. So I did it. I put together this run. And then I Googled for a foundation, an institution that was related with GBS, since I didn't know any. And I came together with you guys, and you were incredible, helping me put all this together, and the fundraising page. I raised awareness among the Portuguese people that didn't know GBS-CIDP International. So it all went well at the end. We're still live. We're still accepting donations and running and walking and contributing until the end of the year. So hope everyone can join me on this.
Well, thank you so much. What an inspiration. So you actually ran a double marathon that day.
Yes, 56 miles, 91 kilometers.
And did anybody run with you?
I had a friend joining me along the way. He was supposed to do just a part of it at the beginning, but then he's used to this long distance running, so he helped me. I had some support from my girlfriend and his wife. They came with us with the car, with the replenishments, water, food, everything. And it went pretty well. And we're raising money so far. I pledged everyone to run or walk, and I will put up additional 10% of all the mileage that they run or walk, and all the donations, so 10% on top of that, and hope everything goes well until the end of the year.
Oh, well, what an honor and tribute to your grandmother. I'm sure that she was with you in a spiritual way that day. So thank you so much for raising awareness, and hopefully folks where you are now will have some awareness, and perhaps you will be a future resource for them to turn to. So thank you.
That can help. I talked to Pamela and Maureen. We had a conversation previously, so I would love to help in any way possible, especially here in Portugal. I know that you don't have a physical office, a specific representation here to help patients and eventual caregivers. I don't know if there are any. My grandmother didn't have one, but I'm here to help. So let's do it.
Thank you so much. I think, the way we're going to get at awareness is really one person, one volunteer at a time, as all of you can attest to. So it's people like everybody on this call that really have helped increase our awareness and education. So thank you so much for that. And speaking of caregivers, Elsa, I'm going to jump to you. It looks like you're physically caregiving right this minute. But Elsa recently participated with us on an FDA listening session about Guillain-Barré, and also has really shared with us some very strong experiences about being an advocate for her husband who recently suffered with GBS. So Elsa, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your role as a caregiver?
Hi, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here with you all and share our experience. We live in Richmond, Virginia. Hi, Brenda.
Hi.
And so Dwayne was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré in May 12th of last year. And, when you don't realize that that's what's happening, we had a neurologist tell us that they didn't know. And then another neurologist came in on Saturday. So it was the day before Mother's Day. And, she immediately, like within 5 minutes, said, it's Guillain-Barré, and they did the lumbar puncture and everything like that. And but what was interesting was that I just didn't know anything about Guillain-Barré. So of course I Googled and found the foundation, and then just found so much information that kind of helped me understand kind of what was happening and what our journey was going to look like. But I think being his caregiver and advocating for him in the hospital was extremely important because, you know, the doctors were the intensivist because he had to be intubated. He had a reaction to IVIG and he had to have an emergency intubation. And so then he was put in an induced coma for a couple days just to kind of help him because he was intubated. So they wanted him to be in kind of an induced coma for a little bit to help him just relax and just kind of regulate everything, because everything was just like his body started shutting down. And they said that I needed to make arrangements and, you know, call his family. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I said, I believe that he's going to be fine. And I need for you to act like he's going to be fine. And if you can't do that, then I need another doctor. I said, because you don't know him, you don't know us. And I know he's going to be fine. So they're like, well, you know, because at that point, I think they were just trying to make him comfortable because of, you know, his liver. I mean, his kidneys were failing. He had to have a pacemaker, a temporary pacemaker. He had dialysis for 2 times a day for almost 3 weeks. It was just, he had pneumonia. His right lung collapsed. They had to end up doing like several bronchs for him in order to clear out the lungs. And there was just so many other things, as you all know, you know, with Guillain-Barré, your body just, I think, goes haywire. And so for me to just continue every day to stay on top of his nurses, to, you know, stretch his arms and stretch his fingers and his legs, even though he couldn't feel them. He couldn't feel them. He was paralyzed from the neck down. And so all he could do was, I mean, he couldn't even talk because of the, you know, he was intubated. So it was hard. It was very, very hard for the first 10 days because of the fact that we couldn't understand what he was trying to tell us. And he didn't have finger motion either, so he couldn't type. And it was really, really difficult. But I do know that staying there, I didn't stay the night because I have trouble sleeping, so I couldn't stay the night because I thought, you know, as a caregiver, I needed to be sure that I was okay, that I was strong, that I was healthy. And I needed to go home every night and rest. So I did. I would do that. I would stay. I would go in the morning first thing before work, and then I would go back again at night after work. And it was just incredible because I think that the doctors knew, the nurses knew, here she comes, and she's going to ask us a bunch of questions, and we're going to have answers, because I'm not the type of person that was just going to go, oh yeah, okay, that sounds good. No, I want to know why you did it, what's happening, what kind of medication you're giving him, and why you're giving him that medication, and what's our, you know, what are we looking at, you know? And so advocating and caregiving was really big. We were there almost, we were there 167 days, we went to 3 different hospitals. And I'll tell you, even the second hospital, we ended up having different protocols started because I wouldn't stop hounding the nurses, and they ended up doing a different protocol for the for patient care. And I said, I'm not just fighting for Dwayne, I'm fighting for all of the patients here. I mean, there shouldn't be a reason why, you know, they can't breathe on their own. They're stressed out. They can't tell you that they're hurting, and for you to just pass them off and be passive is unacceptable. So we need to be able to help them and be their voice. So that was that hospital. And then the third hospital was his rehabilitation. And we said, we're walking out of here. I don't care if it's with a walker, we're walking out. And he did. He took his first step September 27th, and he walked out of the hospital October 26th of that next month.
Wow.
And so, like I said, advocating was really important because they knew that I wasn't going to just say, oh, okay, well, he, you know, I guess he'll get better. I guess he'll this and that. No, I wasn't going to stand for that. I mean, he was a power lifter before. So he was really, really strong. When he went into the hospital, he was 280 pounds and 6'2". I am 5 feet tall, 140 pounds. So you can imagine. So when we left, he came home, he was 190 pounds. So a little bit easier to hold on to him, but I learned how to take care of him. I learned so many things from the rehab hospital, like how to pick him up, how to put him down. And, he's so much bigger than I am, but I could carry him up the stairs if I needed to. I would put him on my back and we would go, because I was not going to let him suffer by himself. And so there's so much to being a caregiver, and it's brought our relationship to another level, because I think when you're giving care to somebody, they're entrusting you with everything, because you're doing everything. And so I just felt like it's brought us to a whole nother level in our relationship, because he still has remnants with his hands and his feet, but he's walking and going to the gym and working, and he's doing fantastic. And I honestly believe it's because, one, our faith, and second, we just wouldn't accept he's not going to walk, or he's not going to do certain things. We said, no, that's not the way it's going to be. He's going to be okay. And we were positive the entire time. You couldn't come into the room and cry, and you couldn't do that. We had to be positive. So I think that was the biggest thing for us.
Well, Elsa, thank you so much. I think if I ever find myself sick, I want you to come and speak for me. Right? We all need Elsa in our lives, right? So Elsa talked about being an advocate for her husband, who is the patient, but John Toomey, you've had the opportunity to be an advocate both on Capitol Hill and recently on a state level. Can you talk a little bit about how you've given to the community by being an advocate?
Well, I feel that because I had a pretty remarkable recovery from a pretty severe situation, that it's my obligation to speak for others, and it's become a passion of mine. And my thought is to help with legislation that helps our patient community, but then also be careful of legislation that could hurt our patient community. So that's my mission, is to speak for those who can't.
Well, thank you so much. And can you talk about what you've done in your state recently?
Well, I've met with the staff for Senator Braun and Senator Young, and then Congressman Carson. These are all three of my representatives, 2 senators in the House of Representatives. And Chelsea's been very helpful in those meetings. And the people have been very interested, engaged. They ask a lot of questions. I think we've got their attention. Our legislature is going to start up in January, so we'll be back probably in touch with them. And then certainly next year with Hill Day, we'll be meeting with the folks to talk about what's important to our patient community.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for giving your voice to the community, John. And speaking of giving voice, Corbin. Corbin is also a member of our board. Corbin's also been involved in advocacy and our walk program. Corbin, can you talk a little bit about how you got involved and how you've given your skills to the community?
Good morning, Lisa. I'm sure. First of all, the GBS-CIDP Foundation is just one of those fantastic foundations that truly does work for our community. And that's kind of how I got involved, from a perspective of, I needed a community. When I took ill back in, more of a progression, like many of us with CIDP, kind of goes progression. It might take several years, in fact, before the professionals finally figure out what's going on in your body. But meanwhile, during that time frame, you begin to deteriorate. And I was experiencing that probably starting in 2012 all the way through 2014, until the professionals working with me finally figured out, hey, we think, you're suffering from this rare chronic illness called CIDP. Confusing. I didn't understand any of it. I had to go through several tests. I went through a surgical biopsy where they removed a section of nerve from my ankle to confirm the diagnosis. Like many of you, CIDP kind of takes its course in different ways. And for me, it it did affect my ability to walk. It affected my ability to, to grab things and use my hands. I too was a, pretty big, strong guy. And I remember going to the neurologist, and in fact, he's on our medical board now. And I remember this particular neurologist, Dr. Keller, small, little lightweight guy, shoving me all over the room just to show me that I didn't have the strength that I thought I had. And I could not resist this little guy. And it was helpful to understand that, okay, I am losing my strength in ways I don't understand. And that continued to deteriorate. In my case, it also affected my heart. And when you're going through that, you're naturally worried and you're confused, and your family's trying to support you. And I couldn't work anymore. And I found myself struggling more and more and more. For me, my main adversary were the steps in my home, and I lived in a fairly big home in Pennsylvania at the time. I'm in North Carolina now, but in Pennsylvania at the time, and we had several flights of steps, and those steps began to challenge me in ways I just never imagined. It would take me quite a while to get up one flight of steps because I just didn't have the strength to do it. And so when you look around, you say, well, what's going on here? And I discovered the CIDP, GBS-CIDP Foundation International. And not only were there this community of people to provide, a community of camaraderie that kind of give you the support, mental support, the emotional support to get through this, but there were tools there. There were active suggestions there. There were lists of hospitals that were centers of excellence that had gone through some standard of approval by the foundation. There was information on research being done. There was information on partnering biopharmaceutical organizations, and there were links to go different places and get all this helpful information. And there were links to go get helpful information on how to reduce your cost of medications, and it went on and on and on. And this thing added such utility to me and my family trying to resolve my illness. So my first opportunity to go for a walk and roll was in Washington, D.C. And if you've never been to a walk and roll, you got to go to the one in Washington, D.C. So I went to this walk and roll in Washington, D.C. And I was just out of body experience. It was just so fun and exciting and interesting to talk to other people, but also and greeting people whose situation was much more dire than mine, and to hear them talk about their journey, to hear them talk about their aspirations for the future, and to motivate each other was really motivating to me to want to do more and more and more for this foundation. So, it's kind of like you're in church, right? So you can give your time, you can give your money, you can give your talents, right? So I tried to do all three the best I could, reaching out to patients as a patient advocate or whatever they call that here. But I've had the opportunity to reach out to many patients and to enlighten them and to direct them to these tools that were available through the foundation, and to watch the foundation respond in such a way that these patients got significant improvement from those interactions. To be able to advocate and reach out to our congressman, and it was the first time I did that. And you talk about empowering, because you sit here helpless, frustrated about Congress, like so many of us are. But then when you go through the advocacy process that has been established by the foundation, and they walk you through it. You go through Hill Day up in D.C., and I had the opportunity to talk to several of our congressmen here in North Carolina. Talk to the staffers in their office of Senator Burr and Senator Tillis, and then since then, to be able to come down here in North Carolina to speak with their local offices, to introduce them to the criticality of this illness, to help them understand how it disproportionately is affecting our military personnel, to help them understand that there is research that is improving our lives. There are treatments that can improve our lives, but we aren't getting equitable access to it, especially those on Medicare, and to introduce them to the resolutions and the legislative agenda that the foundation has, and to watch them become enlightened and then supportive, just from hearing your story, just for hearing how many people it impacts in the state. And all of that information is augmented by, and much of it's supplied by, the GBS-CIDP Foundation International. So that's why I support the organization. That's why I co-chaired one of our walk and rolls here in North Carolina. Again, that was a blast, a lot of fun. We had a good time with it. We raised a bunch of money. It was a beautiful day to get out and walk. My family was up, my kids and my grandkids were here, and we just had a blast. Okay, I guess in summary, I'll say it's one of the best things I could have done. I've been involved in a lot of organizations over the years. This one I found to be the most focused, dedicated, and efficient and effective, because they use the money they have in ways that multiplies and grows and multiplies, and it's everywhere, doing all kinds of wonderful things for our patients in this community and our caregivers. So so I echo, please support the foundation.
Thank you so much, Corbin. So it's interesting listening to all of you. It does take me back. Our son had Guillain-Barré when he was 5.5. He's now 24 and very healthy. But, in the moment, whether it's GBS or CIDP or MMN, whether you're the patient or the caregiver, it can take so much from us in the moment. But all of you have figured out a way to give back in insurmountable ways compared to, I think, what that experience took from you. So we're just so grateful that people like you have joined the community and are giving plasma, giving your time, giving your patience, giving your support, giving your sweat. We're just so grateful. And we really want to think about this Giving Tuesday and think about all the different ways that there are to give. Of course, we welcome all donations at the same time, and you can donate to the foundation by clicking on the donate button on the top right corner of our website. But I also want to draw your attention to the chat. There's been a lot of great information coming out. If anybody listening wants to get involved in our advocacy program, please reach out to Chelsea Fix. And I think her email was shared in the chat. And if you want to become a volunteer to support patients and listen and visit with families, you can talk to Kelly McCoy. And if you want to get involved in the walk program that Corbin was talking about, you can get in touch with Pam Franks. All of our staff is listed on the website, but many of them, their email addresses were listed here. So I can't thank you enough, but I want to open the floor to all of you if there's any other thoughts that you had to add about why you give or encouraging others to give. And I'm really not talking financial resources right now, just giving of your time and yourself.
As I sit here and listen to all these wonderful stories, and I'm on some committees, other committees, I always think to myself, even though I know I'm doing something, I can step up my game a little bit. And it's so refreshing to hear these other stories, because even though I think I'm doing a lot, I could always be doing something else. And I think if we all keep that in our mind, I think we could go a long way.
Well, please consider that by being here today, you are doing something else.
I would just like to add, just for people that are suffering with GBS, CIDP, or MMN, that getting involved is mentally healthy, because it kind of gives you a purpose and a reason, and you kind of feel like this just didn't happen for no reason at all. I never would have thought the doors that opened to me getting MMN would be this fun and meeting so many great people. I mean, yes, it'd be better if I didn't have it, but I do have it. And this is, but I'm choosing to do something positive with it. And for me, that just helped really with my mental health, helping others. And I know how scared I was. So just being able to give a hand to those that are just newly diagnosed just really makes me feel like this is my purpose. So, and I'm okay with that.
Thanks, Brenda.
Yeah, I would echo that, Brenda. I mean, and same to you, Victoria. Victoria and I serve on a different organization together. So happy to see you, Victoria. But you know, I can echo that. The feeling of when you get involved with the foundation. You know, it's one thing to donate money. That's, you know, that's wonderful, and yes, we would appreciate that. But you know, when you donate your time and your talent, that is, it just grows exponentially.
Right.
You know, when you reach out and touch people, first of all, it feels good and hear it to yourself, because you feel like I'm doing something. I'm helping combat this crazy illness, and that feels good internally. But when you have the opportunity to see the reaction of patients who are where you may have been years ago, that are helpless, struggling, their family is confused, they don't know where to go, they're hearing mixed messages from doctors, and you can direct them to, you know, this wonderful resource we have in this foundation, and you can link them to other people that are going through similar, you know, similar things. You can uplift them just by giving your time and just by giving that talent that you have, that God-given talent. And it goes such a long way. You will feel better, I guarantee you. You will feel better in doing so.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Victoria, for being donors. Donors are the life's blood of folks like me, literally, right? So
Yes.
thank you.
Wow, I don't think I'm doing near as much as you all are doing after hearing these stories. Wow.
We
Wow.
need you. We need you. You know, I need you every week. So, literally, thank you.
Well, we couldn't be doing what we're doing without help from people like you.
Yeah,
So
we
that's
need
what you
donors.
need to remember.
You know,
Absolutely.
and I always think if I had this illness, I would want people to help me. So that's what keeps me going back. You know, we're all one step away from any illness. And, you know, take, for instance, this COVID stuff. We are all one step away from getting this. And if we can help somebody, you know, wouldn't we want that if we needed that, is the way I look at it.
Well, that's a wonderful giving heart that you have. I had the opportunity to go to Grifols, several of the donation centers, and when you speak to donors, and you know, and you find out what's driving them to support us, and they don't even know who we are, you know, but they're supporting folks like us, coming in there, you know, sometimes a couple times a month to donate in those centers. You know, year after year, some donors have been like Victoria here donated how many thousand?
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
it's just amazing the dedication from these donors to just help support folks like us, and we wouldn't recover without you. So I want to make sure I take the time to tell you thank you directly.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was up in DC during the plasma awareness day they had up there, and I met my first ever plasma donator. And I told him my story and that's the first time he'd actually met a patient that that plasma donations help. So he gave me like the biggest bear hug, and it was just so nice. And he had just moved to the area, and he was trying to figure out where he'd go to give plasma in the DC area where he lived. And that was a really memorable experience for me. And it was nice being able to share so he could actually visually see who he was actually, people like him, who they were helping. So that was nice.
The foundation has a new campaign called Plasma, Comma Please. The plasma supply is a little bit compromised right now due to the pandemic, and we need plasma donors. So you can find more information on our website. You can also go to donatingplasma.org to find centers in your area. So we have a printable PDF on our website, and we really hope that folks print that and share it with their friends and families in their communities so that we can invite more plasma donors, more people like Victoria.
I wanted to say the foundation, I think, because we're all giving time and even monetary donations, I just believe that if all of us weren't doing a small part, there would be no way that Lisa and Kelly and Estelle, and, just Maureen, everybody can keep going. And to say that they were an incredible resource to us, to our family, I would say is an understatement, because it felt like we were connected immediately. As soon as I started, getting information, I sent out one of those, like, I filled out the contact, and it was pretty much, it was like pretty quickly. I can't remember if it was instant or it was pretty quick. I got a response. And I just feel like if we're all doing a small part, we're giving this fantastic organization the mobility to continue moving forward, to help everyone who has been affected by, Guillain-Barré and CIDP and MMN. I just think it's so important that we all do a small part. If we're all doing a little bit, and not just monetary donations, but like the time that we're all talking about, I think we're continuing to give a voice, a huge voice, to this illness, because we're helping for the greater good.
100%, Elsa. Thank you so much. Well said, all of you. So this year happens to be the 40th year of our foundation. So we're have so much gratitude to Bob and Estelle Benson for founding this amazing foundation 40 years ago. But our work has just begun, right? So thank you for being on this journey with us, and let's keep it going. Stay with us.
Right.
Maybe another 40 years, who knows? I'm not sure how old I'll be then, but thank you all so much. Please think about us on Giving Tuesday, and know that we appreciate all that you have given to us over the years, and we look forward to more.